So, my experience with Dr. Huettner and her team, really was an overall positive experience, and I definitely got the sense that the questions I asked mattered, and she and her team took the time to actually explain to me, what was going to happen and how she was going to do it, even though, my knowledge of it really wasn't required since I'm not the one operating it myself. But that kind of listening, I set her aside from actually 2 other surgeons that I went to go see beforehand. I had street term is top surgery, but it's nipple graft and chest reconstruction surgery. I think that's how you call it. When I started to go through puberty and grow breasts, I think that was right around the time that I decided to give up on trying to express myself as a man to the world. I thought that I would just turn into a boy one day when I grew up, and it didn't happen. Surprise, surprise. And I went many years pretending to be a girl, even to myself, to the point where I kind of made myself forget. And actually, I grew my hair down all the way down to my waist, and started wearing different clothes, started wearing female clothes, and I just wanted to, I was waiting for it to go away. And it didn't. It never went away. And I had a recent change in my life that had me look at, why things weren't working, and things weren't working in my life because I was just not being me. And I started taking testosterone in January 2019. No, I'm sorry, January 2020. And during that time, I decided that it was time for me to take actions on, having the body that I've always wanted. And top surgery was one of those actions that would give me access to having that be expressed. So I chose Dr. Huettner over others, mainly because, like I said before, she answered my questions in a way that made me feel like my questions mattered, and it mattered that I was in the know of what was going to happen and what are exactly what was going to happen. But also I knew I personally knew a doctor she was working with Dr. Bert Peterson, and I just kind of went with my instincts, and he basically told me that I wouldn't be working with this doctor if I didn't trust them or didn't think that they were one of the top surgeons. So I feel really, really good. I feel really, really good about it. I mean, the scars, and the pigmentation of the nipple, all those things that aren't perfect the way you think they should. They're this big of an issue compared to what it's like to have, I don't even want to say a flat chest or a masculine chest. It's not about that. It's finally I get to put this burden down. I get to put it down, and I don't have to walk around with this level of anxiety that I always walked around with. And the actual shape of my chest is gonna look different in a year from now too, and the scars are gonna look different but I'm very happy with how it went and how it looks now. Yeah, I would definitely recommend Dr. Huettner to my friends and family. Because what I would like people who would go through this to know, that, I mean, do your homework. If you have the capacity to see more than one surgeon before you decide, I highly recommend it. And educate yourself. You don't necessarily have to go to a private, expensive, plastic surgeon off in some distant land to get really good work done. It is available to you if you do the research, you educate yourself. Not all surgeons, all are the same. This was my first surgery, but the two that I saw before were very different. Have a support system. I'm thinking about my wife. Yeah, it's hard to do this on your own, and I do not recommend it. So, you definitely need somebody by your side, not just because the hospital says that you have to literally go home with someone. You can't just go home by yourself, but just everything, and I realize that not everybody has that, or has that available to them. But if you can, that's what I recommend. I feel like now I can actually be with people. Like my capacity to just be with people and not have such a high level of anxiety, or not constantly, be in my head, or, is totally I feel like I've been waiting for this for 30 years. That's basically how I feel now. And it's really good that it's happening. No one can tell you when's the right time to do this. This is a very intimate thing between you and your relationship with yourself, as I'm sure you already know. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. Whether you do it, whether you're not, you should know that it doesn't solve everything that you're feeling or experiencing. It's not like that's it, all my problems are over, I won't feel dysphoric anymore, I won't feel this. But it definitely does a lot to improve your capacity to just live your life without all that noise in your head. So, I mean, how I feel today about this, this whole photo shoot and doing all this is, really is I feel like I've manifested this from many years ago. This feels like one of those very synchronistic moments where I've always wanted to be interviewed, to be honest, particularly about my transition. I love big dogs, and there's one in the room right now. And I'm really into cinematography, and I have one of the most skilled and professional photographers who does photo shoots with Tyra Banks, and it's just being here. I would have if the old me would have never felt worthy enough to even walk through the door. Like, this would have been like, I'm this small and everyone else in here is like, I definitely don't belong here. And it's funny because on the way here, I walk past my old work, and I literally used to work just down the street, and I remembered who I was then. And I was just this like scared, kid. I mean, this was like a year ago that I felt, and I just felt like I always had to prove my worth to everyone about everything. And I'm so much more just at peace in my body, and I can actually like enjoy this experience. I mean, this whole place is beautiful. I love it. I mean, it's just, it's a really great opportunity. So we just finished a photo shoot, and I actually just realized I had never been in front of another person other than my wife and my surgeon with my shirt off, and it felt great. I got to know Dr. Huettner a lot more, just, the fact that she even has something like this. I don't know of many other surgeons who follow up with their patients and want to actually give them a voice and a platform to express themselves. Awareness is everything these days, and for a surgeon to create something like this for their patients, and they can be seen and known and heard, is such a contribution to me personally, and it's a contribution to transgender people everywhere. She really cares about her patients having a voice. And it actually really means a lot to me that I got to find someone who, doesn't just punch in, punch out. It's not just their profession, it's someone who really cares about the person that they're dealing with and their story and what they've been through. And those are the kind of things that we need to share with each other. And this wouldn't have happened without her. I'm in this beautiful home with an amazing photographer, and I get to talk about what matters to me, with professional lighting and professional, a professional. And it's just, it's very, very, very generous, and it's really making a difference for people everywhere. I may not know them, I may not know that when or how, but it's just like, it's really, 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 it's really very generous of her, and she wants people like me to have a voice, not just be expressed with my body, but to actually say, hey, this is me. And I just think that that's great. I'm part of a nonprofit organization called Huettner, and its existence is to basically solve youth homelessness, particularly amongst the LGBTQ community. It's not a shelter, though. It's not what we do. We're more than that. We're actually housing that focuses on education, mental health, teaching kids how money actually works, and eventually home ownership. We're a nonprofit, but we have a shop that we We have different clothing items, pretty much every clothing item that you can think of, that every single dollar goes towards this organization, You Matter. And it means a lot to me because I was homeless myself in my younger, actually a few years ago. And it was because I felt like I had nobody, and I felt like I didn't belong in the world. And had I had this opportunity to be included somewhere, it would have made a huge difference for me. And everybody deserves a fair chance at life, no matter where you come from, no matter how you started. And that's why You Matter. One of the issues with shelters these days for homeless people is that they are based on gender. So if you're female, you go to a female shelter. If you're male, you go to a male shelter. Well, what happens if you don't really fit into either of those? A lot of people, transgender people, non-binary people, they'll give up their gender expression just so they can have a place to sleep at night. And what we're creating at You Matter is single units for people to come in. They've got their own space, they've got their stuff, they've got their own shower, so they don't have to give up their self-expression just to survive for